DJ Leroy.
Night Watchman. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How about you?
Yeah,
You're looking bright and sunny today.
Hey, indeed. It was wonderful day during Monday, but now we're in the evening or the time that the Night Watchman comes out.
Yeah, I come out in the daytime sometimes too. I'm not a vampire. I just
Sometimes I do wonder because you tend to sometimes suck the life out of me. But hey, that's another story.
Well, you know what? Let me be the first to say for this weekend, happy birthday, DJ Leroy.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. You know that means a lot, man. Because remember, we're no longer the spring chickens we once were, buddy.
More like the Thanksgiving turkeys.
Wow. Okay, so you're bringing heat. You're bringing, but I love it. It's loving heat. That's what it is. Yes, it's like a dang warm blanket. Okay.
All right. Well, let's warm up this show. We got some great people to talk to, so let's get to that. So, would you kind of like to give a framework for who we're talking to today?
Well, I think we're talking about those individuals who are seeking to actually, put institutions, and when I say institutions, bookstores, let's say, in their communities, realizing that they should be focal points, center points for the community, and also giving back, but also bringing information that is so vitally important to a community. And you know what, Night Watchman, I'm even traveling to the Republic of Brooklyn. What do you think?
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so why don't I just bring up the Davenport women of Brooklyn, and that is, of course, we have Danielle and Gabrielle. Bring them up. Yes.
Hello.
All right. Welcome to Soul Lounge Prime Time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to hear the exciting story about what you guys are doing there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're excited to talk about it.
But hold it. Do tell me that you guys travel north of 96th Street.
Occasionally.
Certainly.
Wow.
No, yes, very true. Very true.
Okay.
For Harlem.
Yes.
Oh, man. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? I can't leave you out there alone. I got another brother who's talking about doing one in Harlem, baby.
Okay.
All right.
And that could only be Mr. John McGregor. Bring him out. Yes.
Hi, everybody.
John. All right. How you doing, buddy?
Happy birthday, Curtis.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Gemini's rule. but you know what? Let us get this popping because, ladies, you know what? Your story is so intriguing. You got to tell me, the journey, why this particular need or niche that you want to actually put there in Brooklyn. I want to hear all about it. So please do tell.
Amazing. So we started BEM. We're co-founders of a bookstore called BEM Books and More. And BEM, people always ask, comes from our grandmother's initials, Bernice and Marjorie. Is
nice.
Really born of our love of food and books. We are a bookstore devoted to food literature of the African diaspora across genres. So that means, of course, all of our incredible cookbooks, but we also have fiction and nonfiction and poetry and kids' books, and everything is Black authored and deals with food in some way.
Wow.
Really speaks to the idea that food is sort of a part of everything and can be a way into all kinds of conversations we might want to be having about our world and communities.
I'm loving this. So I know about this particular one. It may be in Maryland or DC about busboys or something. Can you?
Busboys and poets.
Yes. Okay. So is that the vision that you guys have there in Brooklyn? Do tell.
So Busboys and Poets is, iconic at this point. And the fact that they have so much food and drink happening in the bookstore is actually very similar to what we're building out. We will have a cafe and wine bar in our brick and mortar, as well as a test kitchen and a reading room and archive. So our goal is really to have as many ways as possible for people to engage with the literature, to animate the words on the page and actually get to eat the food. So the ways that Busboys and Poets feels like, a community institution, a gathering place, whether you're reading a book or getting a meal or both, absolutely similar to what we're bringing to Bed-Stuy.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So needless to say, John, you're out there in Long Island, but yet you're looking at Harlem in terms of the genesis for your concept. So do tell me about your journey, man.
Well, I started out working in publishing on the publishing side. That's the beginning of my journey. But I've spent most of my time working at literary agents
Oh,
for
okay.
writers, helping writers get published, helping them find their voices, secure contracts, and manage their writing careers. So most of my time is spent on the other side of the fence, not the retail side, the publishing side, the people that produce the books. One of the books that I did, probably my keynote book, so to speak, was I conceived an idea for a biography of Zora Neale Hurston. I knew there was a hole in the market. This was early 90s, and she was selling very, very well, but there hadn't been a biography on her in a very long time. It was the late 70s, and she was known to hardcore fans via the Hurston Festival, and she was selling strongly on college campuses as required reading. I could see the hole in the market and figured there needed to be a new biography. So I searched for several years to find someone and finally found Valerie Boyd, who recently passed, unfortunately, a few years ago. And she did a book called Wrapped in Rainbows, which is now considered the definitive biography of Zora Neale Hurston. So most of my time is spent doing working with writers. But then I said, let me try, the book selling side. And I worked at a bookstore. And really the genesis of this idea came from a display that I did at a bookstore called How History Was Made, How Books Inspired a President. And it was right after the election of Barack Obama. Basically, the display was a selection, I should say. It wasn't, full because you read a lot. A selection of the books that he read in his early 20s, in which he talks about that time as a period of very deep learning and study and figuring out who he was, what he believed, where he fit in the world, and just sort of, his place as a young man. So I did a selection of the books he read during that period of time, and it just blew up. There was an article in the New Yorker about it. The books on the table flew off the shelf. The University of Texas at Austin found out about the display and did their own display. They copied it. Publishers were saying, can you please put the books, our books on the display, even though they weren't necessarily books that he had read, but they were Obama adjacent books. Can you please put them on? The Sydney Morning Herald in Australia did a piece about it. So it was just a powerful, incredible look into how books change the world, how they change history, how they make people. And that was really the genesis of me thinking about, doing a store and leading me back to Harlem.
Absolutely. I got you. Well, John, the other thing I got to say is ladies. Now, in terms of your background, you guys have backgrounds in publishing, yay or nay, and then also doing, because I heard from John some market research. What research have you guys done to, let's say, justify the vision of opening up there in the community? Tell me.
Yeah, so we don't have a background in publishing, and it is a wild world. It's been such an interesting journey over the 3.5 years since we launched, and also a time of so much sort of transition and change within the industry. We sort of opened at the beginning of the pandemic. Our vision was always...
Well, hold it. Is it still majority white? Just checking.
Yes. Absolutely. I think objectively we can say that to be true. But yeah, so we are new to the world of publishing. It's really interesting for us. Ben really sits sort of at the intersection of the book world and the food world. So there's been so much interesting sort of learning and cross-pollination there. But John, it's so incredible to hear about your journey and sort of having deep experience on all of the sides of it, and the way that sort of, curation and audience connects the dots is really, really beautiful. We're big ends of Zora Neale Hurston, definitely one of our, very literary heroes. And big
I
fans
hope you guys have Wrapped in Rainbows in your store.
We do online. So we're working toward opening our brick and mortar, which we're so excited about, to have the kitchen at the heart of things and to really be bringing the books and the food into conversation. But we're operating online and have wonderful events, including one this Saturday that we can share some information about in the meantime. So yes, definitely available on the site.
Excellent. And John, now, because I'm really feeling their concept in terms of the food incorporated in terms of the literature. Your vision. Tell me about the bookstore that you envision for the community of Harlem.
Well, as you know, Harlem's an iconic literary community. I mean, it's the home to the Harlem Renaissance. Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Jessie Fawcett, Elaine Locke, Nella Larson. So many, amazing, iconic writers come out of Harlem, come out of the Renaissance. So I want a bookstore that celebrates the best of Harlem, the past, the present, and the future. That looks toward the future and looks towards what Harlem could be, where it's going, celebrates its strength and its richness now, its resiliency now, and how, like the independent bookstore business, it's been counted out so many times, but has risen like a phoenix from the ashes, and it's still here. So I want a bookstore that celebrates all that, that's book heavy. So it will carry a wide range of books. This will be a general interest bookstore. So anyone from north to south, from east to west Harlem can come there and find themselves. Find something of interest to them. So I want to encompass the neighborhood in all its richness, and really that's the world in all its richness too. If you look at Harlem, the microcosm of the world in so many ways.
I'm loving this because I grew up there in not Wakanda, the BX. That's where I'm originally from, right?
Okay. Yes.
But I went to Stuyvesant, to the old building when it was on 15th Street off of First Avenue. So I had to travel, as you know, to Barnes and Noble on 18th Street and Fifth Avenue for my study guides and whatnot. Tell me that you're going to have that type of information there at your bookstore, so I can study for the specialized tests.
We're gonna have test prep books, SAT books, books on writing essays. In case a mother wants to help her daughter get ready for college, she can get books to help navigate that process. We're gonna have books for children in case a father wants to read to his kids at night. We're going to have the latest novel. We're going to have books on Black history. We're going to have cookbooks. We're going to have everything. It's going to be I want to be a book-heavy location in which you can find anything that you want to read. But we're going to go beyond that. You talked about, study guides. We are planning to have several initiatives, sort of outside the book realm, which would consist of author readings and book clubs, multiple book clubs, and panel discussions. But I want to bring in a friend of mine who worked in New York City public schools for over 30 years. She's just started a company that helps, primarily Black and brown kids navigate the college application process, navigate financial aid, navigate applying to colleges, navigate, that whole process of getting into higher education. So I want to partner with her to offer that service, to young people, to parents that may need some help, reaching higher education. And what's really cool about what she's doing is she works with them and stays with them, not just during the process, but during the whole 4 years of college. So that's something in addition to, the learning and the reading and the enrichment of books that I want to bring in. Because I believe a good bookstore is essentially a community resource. Exactly. So you have to, it's sort of like the the Christ on the Mount sermon when he was, giving his sermon to the people. But, the people had been starving. They're hungry. They've been out there for a while. So his first thing was, let's get these people something to eat. So these people need something to eat before I give them, this word. Let's give them something to eat. So this is sort of like me feeding the community and then saying, now you've been fed. There's this richness of literature that you can take part in.
I love this. And so Danielle and Gabrielle. So one of the things that I had charged John with doing was doing a listening tour. You listen to the community because for so long we have, let's say, outsiders come into a community and then impose what they envision without listening to what the community wants. So have you guys done a listening tour in your community?
Yes, we have been on a 3.5-year long listening tour that started even before then. As Danielle mentioned, the original vision was to open a brick and mortar bookstore. That was what we were building toward. And then, of course, the pandemic arrived. So we ended up starting online. But we often say that starting in that way, I think, will turn out to have been a blessing in disguise. Because this allowed us to not only do a listening tour in our community in Bed-Stuy, but also to understand what, Black people interested in food are wanting from a space like this from around the country, right? We've been able to connect with folks digitally on social media, et cetera, and really start to build a community of chefs and authors and readers and eaters who want to come visit us in Brooklyn, right? We can't wait to welcome them. Also, are bringing all kinds of interesting regional, work into our midst. So, yes, we have been on a listening tour. That's one of the best parts of this. As we're all talking about, bookstores are, in the best cases, right? In almost all cases, I would say, community institutions, and they reflect the place that they are of. And so when we tell folks what we're doing, generally they're like, this is so exciting. And do you know about this book? Or do you know this recipe? Or do you know this author? Which is a delight. We get to have a conversation with people about how they're feeding themselves, which is really wonderful. So yes, to the listening tour. It will never end.
I love it.
Harlem. We sort of one of our first opportunities to really, plant some roots and get to be in person for a while operating was in partnership with the Museum of Food and Drink for their African American exhibition at the Africa Center.
My God. Hold it. Were you guys there? Because I was there.
We were that bookstore when you walked through and you came out the end and you saw all those books. That was us.
Brooklyn coming to Harlem, baby.
And we're always happy to. In fact, there's another event we're working on now that we should be able to announce soon that is likely to be back uptown as well. So yes, we are citywide and nationwide and worldwide. And as we think about the diaspora, it really is important to us that we're representing not just sort of American, U.S. stories, but what's happening in the Caribbean, what's happening on the continent, sort of all around the world, what is happening in the world of Black, storytelling and foodways.
Oh man, and I have to say, okay, because remember, I've been a Harlemite since 1980, so I've seen all the changes and whatnot. And absolutely, at one point, and you guys know, the seat of, let's say, Black political power was Harlem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Republic of Brooklyn, you guys have taken that over. Like, what's up? What's up?
Kind of have.
Y'all are bringing the heat, and I'm loving it. I mean, from the mayor, the public advocate, the attorney general, you guys are doing it. I mean, you got the controller, all of the, seated right there in Brooklyn. So what's so special about Brooklyn? Why do you guys love it?
One of the things I always say, especially relative to this work that we're doing now, I mean, I think, John, you said it as well of Harlem, but it really feels like, the whole Black world shows up in Brooklyn. It is just so beautiful and so vibrant. It is a place like no other, I think, just the creative energy, the history and legacy and all of the things that are happening now and looking forward. It's a really beautiful and unique place.
Go ahead,
I
Gabrielle.
was just going to say, I was talking to a friend the other day about how Brooklyn feels like a tiny giant place, right? Like you can get into so many worlds, so many niches, and everything is represented in our borough. And I feel like it is endlessly exciting to see what people are doing in, you know, another neighborhood or around the corner, right? Because there's so much activity and sort of vibrancy to get into. So we're glad to be here.
And you know what? Because I'm thinking about, let's say, I certainly do love film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think about one of the iconic films of the '90s, black film, Love Jones.
Yeah.
Come on.
Iconic.
Where does it start out? Start in a bookstore, right?
Yeah.
Busboys and poets, you know, right up in that bad boy. So I'm thinking that Brooklyn, it could have been set off in Brooklyn. That's what I'm saying. Maybe right at your bookstore. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. Yes, we cannot wait to be the meeting place for all kinds of, you know, couples to come. That is part of the dream. Absolutely.
Oh man. So John and whatnot. Tell me, do you remember Love Jones as well, man?
Of course, yes. I love that movie. Yeah.
Nice. And so that whole cool hipster vibe is also neo soul. That's also vibing with you, huh?
Ah, absolutely. That's an incredible movie. You know, I want my bookstore, of course, to be, you know, that kind of place where people come, you know, meet, mingle, exchange ideas, and interestingly enough.
John, I think you have frozen for a minute. Oh, yep, I think he has. So, you know what? Ladies, tell me about that chill vibe that you guys are going to have there at BEM, okay?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's so funny you bring up Love Jones. That is maybe my favorite movie.
Yes.
I think something we talk a lot about is how
a lot of.
Oh, John, you froze for a second, so I moved on, but I'll come back to you. Go ahead, ladies.
Okay.
I was just going to say we're excited to build a space that everyone can find themselves in, right? So having kids come by after school for a snack and to start their homework, and young people looking for romance, right? Like to come and join us, as well as elders who can spend their afternoons with us. Like, we're really excited to be a space where all of that can happen and feels right at home. So I think we'll have a little bit of everything for everyone if we get this right.
Yes, and lots of incredible programming as well. So whether someone is coming for a cooking class or a pop-up where you're buying a slice of cake from an amazing local baker, or like a multi-course ticketed dinner with a chef you've seen on TV, it's like it will all be available to you over the course of a given, you know, week or month or year in the life of them.
Love it. And John, you were talking about the vibe created there at your bookstore. Go ahead.
I want it to be a place where absolutely people can come and mingle and talk and exchange ideas and meet. It's, you know, it's a social nexus. It's a gathering hub. It's a community building institution. So absolutely, I really want it to be all that. You know, it's because that's, you know, again, that's Harlem. You know, you mentioned Brooklyn as you know, the seat of power in New York, but
now there was a transition, because sometimes, and you guys already know this, sometimes there are elected officials who, as I say, just go down with the ship. The transition is already happening, but they're still there. So that's what I'm talking about, John. You know, you have to actually adapt to the changes that are going on in the community.
Yes, but before all that, there was Adam Clayton Powell.
Yes,
who was the congressman for all of Black America.
Yeah, you got it.
Black America contacted Adam when they needed help with this or with that, and Adam Clayton Powell is a Harlem institution. You know, Dapper Dan is doing a Harlem line at the Gap. You know, there's the Harlem TV show on Amazon Prime. There's, you know, Harlem in all its richness is being celebrated across many spectrums, across many media. And, you know, I'd like my store to sort of capture all of that. What's amazing about it, what's beautiful about it, its past, its present, and its future. So that's really sort of what I'm getting at. I think Harlem really needs to be celebrated. And I want my store to do that. Because I think once you do that, you celebrate the amazingness of African-American people throughout the world. But it's going to bring in, people from all over Harlem, from, like I said, from El Barrio on the east side to the west side. So
I love this. Okay, what are the other things I got to say? Okay. So there are sometimes some bookstores that open up. One example might be Revolution Books. Now, Revolution Books, I love the fact that they did come to Harlem on 132nd Street and Lenox Avenue, or Malcolm X Boulevard. However, remember, they are specific that you got to be part of the Revolution, or yes. they're not going to carry your works there. So out there in the Republic of Brooklyn, what type of bookstore are we talking about? Are we talking about generalist that I'm going to have all the information I need? I might even have some flower. I might have the Cinderella story up in that bad boy. Tell me what's going to be there.
We are a Black food bookstore, which means that we are general interest, right? So we have a beautiful collection of cookbooks, but we also have fiction and poetry and nonfiction and a beautiful selection of children's books. And so there really is something for everyone. We say that food is politics and climate and, relates to health and all of these things. And so if you are interested in learning about something, you can find a book at BEM. So it's really important to us to maintain that sort of core, that focus on food, but it can manifest in a book in any number of ways. So we talk about the example of the biscuits at the beginning of Beloved.
Yes.
Right, so that is food literature to us. There are plenty of books. There's a book called Butter, Honey, Pig, Bread that has like a recipe sort of written out in prose in the middle of the book. That is also food literature. So we are a Black food bookstore, but there is really something for everyone within that.
Yeah, and also remember, we always have this cross marketing. So will there be merch?
Oh yes,
of course, there already is. We have some really fun merch that will actually be soon uploaded to our site. We have an event this weekend. Actually, that'll be sort of ticketed unless having the merch sales available there. But you can find our merch on our website.
Nice. And of course, going to you, John, general interest bookstore, but you will have, let's say, a focus primarily on
the focus. It'll be a general interest bookstore. I always say that the African American experience is who I am, so that is going to be obviously central to it. But it's going to encompass what I think all of Harlem is, which is a multiracial, multi-ethnic sort of melting pot of various different kinds of people, from all over the world. So it will, centralize, that experience because that's who I am. But that richness encompasses so many different worlds in so many different ways. One of my favorite publishers was a guy named Glenn Thompson, who started a series of books called the Beginner Series. And these were documentary comic books that would give you a very concise, very, amazing beginner education in a variety of topics. And Glenn's passion was reading and getting young people to read and getting young people excited about reading. And that was inspired by his trips all around the world. He lived in Kazakhstan. He lived on a kibbutz in Israel. He lived in London for a while and, eventually made his way back to New York, back to Harlem. That's kind of where I started working in publishing around Glenn's office. I would stop by his office on the 10th floor, and then I'd go down to the 9th floor and see Marie Brown. And hang out there for a long time. I remember to you guys, I remember at the time she had this book called Vibration Cooking. Bookstores. I remember thinking that's a really cool title.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Governor, one of our key texts in our collection.
Yes,
for sure.
I remember when it was out. I'm dating myself.
No,
I remember when it was out, and I remember going to her office and seeing that book and being like, wow, this is a really cool looking book, a really cool title.
Nice.
So all their influences are gonna be wrapped up in what I'm doing. So I think the African American spirit is international. So it touches every part of the world. Everywhere. We're the first people. Humankind began in Africa.
Yes, very true. And you know what? So what are the things in terms of the food scene? You got some tremendous chefs, no doubt, there in Brooklyn that it's like popping all over the place. I got to also then think about here in Harlem. We had a brother by the name of Alexander Smalls. Okay, in partnership
with a wonderful new cookbook coming out.
Oh my God! Do
tell. At our site.
Oh my God! He hasn't even dropped that in on me. So do tell me about that.
This one it's just been released for pre-order. So it'll be coming out. I think in 2025.
Excellent.
So it's a ways off. But yeah, it's a beautiful text for sure.
Well, one of the people that he mentored, and would travel with out to Africa to actually get recipes is Chef JJ, Joseph Johnson. Sure. And so now, and of course, we know his new concept in terms of field trips. So hopefully, in terms of maybe having a guest appearance with Chef JJ coming out to Brooklyn, or what? What do we think?
Yeah, definitely. We actually, Chef JJ and I worked together at a restaurant many years ago. So it was wonderful to reconnect. Yeah.
Wow, the world is too small. It is too small.
It really is. So we were able to be a partner on the release of his newest book, The Simple Art of Rice. And to partner for a couple of events and pre-orders and fun things like that. So yes, his work is delicious and wonderful. So really excited to see what he's up to.
Now, funny enough, so I was hanging out with my wife. We were invited to the Scholastic building. They were having an event for a good friend of ours, Billy DeMichelle. So Billy was being honored at the building, but for this program called the Pajama Program.
Okay.
Which I had never even heard of, but the Pajama Program, putting books and also pajamas into the hands of families, because you know what? Kids deserve a decent night's sleep. But it was so wonderful with this Pajama Program, like who knew? So will let's say your concept also have particular programs that might address some of the inequities that exist in our community?
All right, me or
you? Yep.
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay.
Coincidentally, there's a program I just discovered. It's based here in Long Island, in which they distribute free books, and they've had a little trouble getting books into parts of New York City. And absolutely one of the things I want to do is on a regular basis, partnering with a community board or organization. And this is an outgrowth of my sort of listening tour, because that was the first thing I did, went to every single community board and introduced myself and told them what I was doing and told them I wanted their feedback and their ideas. Partnering with a community board to bring in free books on a regular basis and just distribute them to parents, to educators, teachers, whoever might want them. Now, it's a little bit of a tricky proposition because, if I get a reputation as a place where you can get free books, I might not sell enough books, and then I'll have trouble paying my rent, and that might lead to more kinds of trouble. But I believe strongly enough in that initiative that I want to do it on a regular basis. Bring in free books, partner with an organization, and just distribute them, to parents, to teachers, to kids. So that's going to be a big part of what I do, because literacy rates, are atrocious in so many parts of New York City, the country, Harlem, the world. And I'm an evangelist for books, and getting children reading is a key part of that.
Absolutely. And funny enough, so thinking about one of the shows that we had in terms of three guys who have literacy programs, including the Harlem Educational Activities Fund.
Classic show, a classic. You guys should watch it if you haven't seen it.
Well, thank you. So I got to find out, what are you guys planning some special programs that address some of these inequities in the community?
Absolutely. Yeah. We talk a lot about sort of the range of our programming. And so there will be plenty of things that are free and low cost, that in addition to, if we're able to make books available for free, we'll also be able to have events, right, that anyone can come to, where you can engage with the author and hear more about their process and those kinds of things. So yes, we absolutely intend to integrate the community into what we're doing in those ways. We already have done a couple of fundraisers sort of at our events. So that's very important to us and to our mission for sure.
And we also think that when it comes to kids, with the littler ones especially, there's such a fun and exciting way into math and science in the kitchen. It's like we're doing chemistry, like we're measuring, we're figuring out, and so figuring out ways to sort of activate kids' interest around learning in different kinds of ways, and building that out as we grow to be able to have. We were just talking to folks with a nonprofit here in the neighborhood about the notion of pairing interns, or really doing some workforce development things and helping young people have skills in the culinary world, because there are lots of possibilities. So to figure out what are the ways that we can sort of connect and meet needs within the community on all kinds of levels.
I love it. And one of the other things is that I hold on, John. Another thing that I also see is, let's say, comics had been the entry or gateway to literacy for a lot of young people and whatnot. So you guys planning, and also I was thinking about at Harlem School of the Arts, they have this brother, A.K. Lovelace, who is teaching a comic creation and what's that? Almost like graphic novel type workshop. Is that something that you guys are also looking to having at your store?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just thinking of Queenie, a book that came out maybe a year or two ago. But as a graphic novel, we're always excited when we have, and there are, I think, a couple maybe about the Black Panthers, where food is showing up in a way in graphic novels and comic books is definitely something that's always exciting to us to loop in.
Beautiful, beautiful. John, go ahead.
To piggyback on that, I want to have, as of right now, I want to have two dedicated areas of the store. One will be for, I mentioned my, dear friend and mentor, Glenn Thompson, and the beginner series were basically documentary comic books. And when Glenn published them, he pretty much started a revolution in trade paperback publishing, because no one had been doing trade paperback publishing like that. And when Vintage, division of Random House, started doing trade paperbacks, it was very much similar to what Glenn had been doing with the beginner series and the documentary comic book style in which they had. So I want to definitely have a display just focused on the beginner series and the work Glenn did in the documentary comic book style, and have that for sure. So that's a great way for kids to find their way into reading. But also what I want to do is I want to have an initiative in which I bring in novelists, writing teachers, professors, people who can help folks bring out the creator in themselves. Because I want to, have writing workshops for everybody that's interested in maybe writing their own book or writing their own novel, and want to sort of get some advice and some feedback and sort of see where, this work they've been working on is and what they need to develop it. It'll be targeted, for everybody, but specifically at young people and older folks. Young people because they're at the beginning of that creative journey and they could use some feedback, some instruction, some encouragement on where that should go. And older folks who have probably long thought of writing that family history or writing that memoir, but for reasons of time or family or raising kids or working, didn't quite get to it. And now maybe they have a little more time. The kids are out of their house and they can focus on that. So now they can pull out that family history and sort of say, let me see if I should do something with this, or if there's something there. There'll be workshops for folks like that to sort of say, okay, this is where it is. This is the feedback. This is what you need to develop it. So helping, people find the creators within themselves is the point of that.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, and you can't even make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. So I told you that my wife, Karen, is a voiceover actress, right? And my ex is a literary agent. So I'm surrounded by you guys. I'm just surrounded. But one of the things, I recently also had a show about, and I have to say, I've even used it. I've cheated a little bit, AI. So you guys, in terms of the whole creative process, are we in danger of AI doing the creative stuff in terms of writing? Do tell.
I think there will always be things that the human mind can do that robots cannot. I know people personally who have found a lot of utility in AI for note-taking and just sort of automating different activities, which feels like a slippery slope potentially, but I think there, as John was saying before, indie book selling has been counted out many times before and continues to come back. And I think that is because there's an innate human desire for connection and for storytelling and so forth. And I think there's no amount of AI that's ever going to completely replace that. So new technology always poses risks and opportunities. And I think it remains to be seen exactly where all of that nets out. But I think if there are ways that AI also makes either the telling of the stories or the reading of the stories more accessible to folks, like that's a good use for AI as far as I'm concerned. But it'll be interesting to see, exactly how that all evolves.
And definitely, and I definitely got to give you guys major props because you say bricks and mortar, that ain't cheap. Okay. So let's say you're closing your eyes. I'm seeing the vision of your store. What am I seeing? And I'm not the biggest in terms of development, but I know some square footage type stuff. What am I looking at? Ladies, describe the store when I walk in. Tell me.
So you're looking at, when you walk into the first floor, it's sort of your first impression of them. It's about 1,500 square feet.
Okay.
It's an incredible bookstore. There are books everywhere.
Nice.
You see there's the coffee bar where you can grab a little something.
Yes.
Depending on the time of day, you might be arriving for an event. And probably the first thing you'll notice in the space is the kitchen, really sort of the center of things. So whether it's a morning and there's a chef in residence sort of working on something, someone, testing recipes for an upcoming cookbook and just kind of doing their own thing with like wonderful smells in the background as you browse your books or drink your coffee, or if you might come back to the space the next day and it's a totally different configuration and full of seats and everyone is able to attend an event and listen to a talk, or it could be a dinner. One of the things that we're really excited about is that the space is going to be really flexible and be able to do a lot of things in terms of the different things you can do there, but it's going to be really sort of immersive and warm, and have a real sense of history to it, and really be a beautiful space that we can't wait to welcome everyone to.
I'm loving it. John, you see, I have my eyes closed. What am I experiencing? Talk to me.
Good question. Books.
Yes.
I come back to it being a space that's book heavy. Not anything, but so much of what you've dreamed about, seeing so many undiscovered topics or undiscovered, little novels or pieces of history or autobiography are going to be there. It's going to be like Amazon, but without the cold algorithm. It's going to be warm, and and it's going to bring you in, and there's going to be someone that's going to be able to help you find what you didn't even know or think that you might be looking for or interested in. That undiscoverable piece of serendipity that you get from walking into a bookstore that you don't get from Amazon. That diamond in the rough that you weren't expecting to find. That precious find that you didn't even know that you were looking for or were interested in. It's that will be there, and most of all, there will be someone to curate that experience for you and guide you through that, and have you walk away hopefully with things you weren't even expecting to see, and hopefully get what you wanted as well too. So that for me is going to be the biggest thing. We're obviously we won't have everything that Amazon doesn't have, but we'll have that immersive human connection without the cold algorithm that usually leads you in the wrong direction oftentimes anyway. But a human being you can talk to, you can speak to, and exchange ideas with, and get recommendations for your aunts or your son that's graduating and going off to college, or you have more time to read and I want to catch up on this or catch up on that. So
love it. So I guess one of the other things, so certainly back in the day, now you guys are a little bit younger than me, I definitely, but tell me if you guys remember Tower Records.
Of course.
Okay. So, and one thing in Tower Records, now, I didn't necessarily want to buy the CD, but I wanted to know what was on the CD. So, of course, when I would put on some headphones and listen to a little sample of the record, right? So now we certainly do know that the changes in books, we have audio books. So might there, if I walk into your the store, will I be able to actually sample? I want a little taste of what you're offering there. So tell me.
Well, we'll likely have sampling of food, or something like that for sure. I think it's certainly possible. We haven't actually talked about what sampling audiobooks in the store would look like. I think it is possible. We talk about certainly having audiobooks available on our site. They're not currently, but that's something we definitely plan to do. And I don't know why we couldn't have a little listening booth, right? Where you see what's what. So I think that could be a lot of fun. We're definitely interested in different media and different ways, again, of engaging and animating the books. So we've talked about, like how can we show old cooking shows, like with these whoever else, right? So all of these different ways of getting into the books we're definitely invested in. So I think that's a great idea. Maybe we'll figure out how to do that.
Well, I'm thinking, okay, so well, two things. A, I'm late for the signing, but will you have filmed it? That's one. And then two, will you also have a test or prep kitchen where I can see the demonstration of how you prepare something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a huge part of what we'll offer. Pretty much any event that you come to at Ben, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be food involved. So when we are doing a cookbook launch, I mean, even as we move toward our brick and mortar, but partnering, when other people are opening their doors to us to host events, being able to have food, to be able to see a chef prepare a recipe, and even full cooking classes. So everything from a demo where you're just sort of sitting back and watching to being able to dig in and make it yourself will be available. And we're definitely figuring out what we'll be able to live stream, to have access after the fact. Excellent. But our community is global, so we want to be sure that we're making our offerings available across the diaspora.
Beautiful. And John, you heard my 2 parts there in terms of embracing technology, having that maybe on demand within the store, and also, let's say I missed something. I need to see this author talk back. I want to see it. So will you have filmed it?
Good question. I haven't thought about that in depth, but that's a possibility. Filming the events and, having some sort of YouTube or, Substack or something along those lines. There are a lot of things, that are in the works that I'm thinking about. But yeah, that's something that could happen.
Okay. That's it. I mean, ultimately, we know that the world is not a static. It's constantly changing and moving, and as you say, we always have to adapt. I did hear something in terms of what the ladies were envisioning in terms of, let's say, size. I didn't hear that from you. What kind of size are we talking about with your space?
I envision something along the lines of about 30, at least 3,500 square feet in space.
That's big. That's ambitious. But go ahead. Let me hear more. Go ahead.
Well, the Barnes and Noble's superstores of old were oftentimes 8 times that large.
Yes, but that is a different era, John. So let's say for this era, what are we seeing? Talk to me.
For this era, I think lean. I want to be sizable. So probably 3,500 to 4,000, around that size. Square feet, because I want it to be, again, book heavy. I want to lean into the power of the written word, of the physical book. Book Talk is the largest community on TikTok.
Wow.
The only group, according to the Census Bureau's monthly retail statistics survey, the only age group that's reading more is the 15 to 24 age group. And they're attending libraries more, and they're craving more of an authentic in-person experience. So, while, you look forward to the future and technology, I want to bring back the intimacy of the physical book and the written word, and really lean in heavily to that, which is why I want the store to encompass, a wide range of books, physical books. There could be audiobooks there as well too. But I want to be a physical book heavy location where you can find, as much as possible. So I want to be sizable in that sense.
Beautiful. Because certainly, we know about a number of things happening in communities. So do tell me, my ladies from the Republic of Brooklyn, what about traveling out to the Harlem Book Fair? You guys do that?
We have not yet sold at the Harlem Book Fair, but would love to attend. We, when we started online, we started doing holiday pop-ups, and that was kicked off all that fall. And there are always more places to be than we have people to be at them. So we're exactly how all of that works. But even after we open, we absolutely look forward to continuing to do pop-ups, continuing to do events that are outside of our store, so that we can keep coming to where people are, meeting them where they are, as opposed to always making sure they need to come to us in Brooklyn. So yes, to the Harlem Book Fair. We would love to show up there one day.
Well, I'll come, but you got to promise me you're also going to bring the food component.
Bringing food to other people's venues gets really complicated really quickly. Try as often as we can. Not because they don't want to. There's just all kinds of liability, all kinds of things start to unfold. So hopefully, right? We would love to if we can.
But it'll also very much be worth the trek to Brooklyn to come and experience it in the space.
Wow, that was a good comeback. Excellent. So of course, John, what about you? The Harlem Book Fair. What are you doing?
The Harlem Book Fair. I've known Max Rodriguez since the very beginning. I know the Harlem Book Fair well. I attended the very first one. I helped get it off the ground, publicizing it. I know people that put it together, Linda Duggins, Max, Troy Johnson. So yes, the Harlem Book Fair is something, we'll be a part of. I've been thinking more about ways in which, I can bring as much of the bookstore as possible, mobile to the community. So, I'd love to probably do some sort of mobile bookshop at the Harlem Book Fair, at the Uptown Night Market. And, because Harlem is rich in fairs and community and gathering space and the street fairs. So I absolutely, think it'd be great to bring the bookshop to people where they are, because you kind of have to meet people where they are in so many ways. And sort of, and oftentimes them coming into your space, which is great, but you have to go out into the community and meet people where they are. So some sort of mobile bookshop at the Uptown Night Market or the Harlem Book Fair or other street fairs is something that I'm thinking about doing.
Okay, beautiful. So in our remaining minutes, you guys, you got to let me know some of the plans for the summer, because usually summer tapers off. As a matter of fact, what I do in my day job is that we support nonprofits doing work in our catchment area with 96th Street going north. And so this was what we call the first edition toward the tail end of gala season. So every one of them was having their event. I mean, even the Harlem School of the Arts had their themed one called Bridgerton.
Oh,
Can't make this stuff up. Oh yeah, I did not wear a powdered wig. I did not wear that powdered wig. But having said that, we will then have nothing during the summer, but we'll pick it up again in the fall for the fall edition. So do tell me, what do you guys have cooking for the summer, the upcoming months?
So actually tomorrow we will be at Weeksville Heritage Center in Brooklyn for Black-owned Brooklyn's Juneteenth Food Festival. So they have more than 40 vendors and performances and all kinds of other wonderful things going on.
Nice.
We'll be there from 11 to 8. And at 3:30, at 3:30 p.m. actually, we will have a kids cooking demo and a read aloud. So we're excited to kick off our summer season with that. And then on the 22nd.
And then on the 22nd, we're doing a wonderful, with Juneteenth falling on a Wednesday this year, we're like, okay, we're doing both weekends. The 22nd, we're doing a Juneteenth celebration with Nicole A. Taylor, the author of Watermelon and Redbirds.
Yes.
Wonderful cookbook focused on Juneteenth and other Black celebrations. And so we're going to have, lots of incredible food and drink. We have these curated book bags that you can take home with you as well. We'll have sort of an oral history activation, some really lovely things, and that's from 5 to 7 p.m. At Aquaba in Brooklyn.
Nice. Well, now slowly, because I've lost the technical expertise, which is the night watchman. So if someone wants to get in touch with you too, tell me, how do they do that?
We can be found on Instagram at BEM Brooklyn. So that's BEM Brooklyn. Our website is also bembrooklyn.com. Those are the best places to find us. You can join our mailing list and stay up to date that way.
Love it. John,
yes.
Closing thoughts, and also where can they reach you?
You can reach me via email at jmgbooks, the number 2, not the word, at gmail.com. And this summer, I'll be spending it going hat in hand, trying to raise money to fund the bookstore, planning, and again, more community listening, and more of the listening tour, which I see as an ongoing process. Meeting with folks, that's my summer coming up. But to close, Harlem is unique. It's like no other neighborhood in the world. Yes. It's known all over the world. You can pretty much go to anywhere in the world and mention Harlem, and they've at least heard of it. And there are very few neighborhoods, if at all, that you can say that anywhere in the world they've heard of Harlem.
That is true.
There's nothing like it. And, I am excited about bringing literary resources and reading and ideas in an even bigger way to the community. And I hope you come and support it and support what I'm doing. And I'm excited to continue the conversation.
Well, this has been an incredible show. You guys, yes, you're proven that, you know what? You will be invited to the cookout, I promise.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys were incredible. And like I said, I've lost the night watchman, but I know he's here in spirit. And so I guess the thing that I would have to say is, a night watchman, take us home. All right. Guys, you were incredible. Thank you.